I was one of those kids that kind of never really found the ultimate tribe, but floated amongst multiple tribes and just made friends with as many people as possible, but never really belonged to one specific tribe. So I do a bit of everything. I was house captain. I was definitely scared to be myself in high school because I didn't see many people like me. I didn't really visually connect with anyone that was like me. Yeah. So I did struggle to be myself, but it takes time to work out who you are. You just have to get comfortable with it.
What's like helped get less scared?
Doing it.
Yeah.
Like just being yourself, your authentic self, showing up. And being yourself isn't an excuse to get away with shitty behaviour. It's like authentically who you are, like just being a real, like this is Ben, this is who I am. And the more you do it and the more you feel accepted, the easier it just becomes. You're like, oh, that's who I am.
Beautiful.
Growing up, I didn't have a great deal of role models outside of my mum, but thank God, the universe, whatever you believe in, she was just a top role model. She was a good mix of like stoic, get on with it kind of attitude with a bit of kind of emotional risk taking and being able to be vulnerable and get real. But she was also just a character, like always a life of the party, always had a joke. My mum took a lot of kids in as well from our neighbourhood, but we had a lot of different kids live with us over different periods of our upbringing. And she was just like head of community. That was just like, and she loved it. She was there for anyone in a crisis. She was always giving advice. So I kind of learnt a lot from her. Youth Projects was, and still is, such an amazing organisation that worked right across the spectrum of sort of prevention, early intervention, crisis response, healing and recovery. And what we learnt there during my time, which was just over 7 years, was that the crisis response so deeply entrenched in our DNA and who we were as an organisation, and 40 years they'd been around. And we'd been building this pipeline of early intervention and prevention based off the information we were learning at the coalface of street homelessness, having night nurses patrolling Melbourne CBD 365 nights of the year. And we were like, if we get in earlier, we're going to have greater generational impact than trying to constantly respond at the pointy end.
Yeah.
The sector talks a little bit about the fence at the top of the cliff or the ambulance at the bottom. I think you can do both, but where I felt the most impact, the most pull, and I saw really significant impact, lives changed forever, was in that early intervention. We had a lot of really cool and unique mental health outreach models where we'd go and meet the young people where they're at, like physically go and meet them where they're at, and getting in and helping them understand their mental health, connect with their environment and address the challenges in their lives as early as possible. I saw greater trajectory shifts and I just became addicted to thinking if we can get in as early as possible.
Part of you starting at the cave was your first day you had to be on a workshop. So
Yes.
you'd even come into the office.
I did not. I went straight to a school. You know, new job vibes are like the little butterflies that you get, the nervousness, experiencing a bit of anxiousness, a bit of anxiety about the new job is something I haven't felt for 7.5 years. I was super keen to see the impact firsthand and to be welcomed the way that I was by the school, amazing staff, but by our facilitators from the Man Cave. I had no idea how the day was going to unfold. I didn't know anything about the sessions. So I kind of experienced it from the back of the room and was able to watch throughout the day. This is a level 1 workshop. Pennies just drop for boys. So I was just like watching it happen and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And then also sort of teachers and school staff coming in and out, but one particular teaching staff stayed all day. And she was in. She was like, I knew this is exactly what the boys needed and you're delivering. And I was like, that's like, also thank God, because I'd just taken this job and believed in everything that the man cave had told me, but I'd never seen it. So just every point of the day, every person I could interact with, just really connected with what the man cave is doing and wants to do more of. The parent in me, when this topic came to be, I was like, yeah, get rid of it. Like, I have seen as a parent, as a CEO of a youth services organisation, as an uncle, as a friend, all of the downfalls of social media. And my immediate reaction was like, yes, thank you, you can do my job for me, get rid of it, it's gone, it's not in our life anymore. And then I spoke to my daughter, who's 14, and she's like, even if they do ban it, we'll just find a way around it. I was like, tell me more about that. And she said to me, it's how we communicate, it's how we talk, it's our natural way of being now. Like, it's part of who we are. And I was like, right, yeah. Okay.
How'd that make you feel?
Yeah, I was like, immediately I went into like a harm prevention. That's my natural default, is to reduce the harms, and thought, okay, well, how do we make social media good? It's a big question, and I have some ideas. I don't think there's one silver bullet. I think we have to lean into a really healthy national and global conversation about the fact that boys and men are dying by suicide at rates that are not acceptable. Like, that's the first thing we have to talk about, is that this is not an acceptable rate of death for anyone in society, but it's happening significantly higher for boys and young men. And start to understand what's changed for them and why this might be happening. And I think there's a link to gender-based violence, but I think let's keep them separate for now. When it comes to men's mental health, we're coming from generations of men who were taught, and it was ingrained in them, to be stoic and reserved. And the challenges that they faced are very different to what boys and men face in 2025. If we go back 2 to 3 generations, we're talking about a generation that had to go to war and protect the nation. And coming home from war, they had a generation of children who said, we don't want to do that anymore. But also, generations before us lived very different lives. They would leave school at 15 as a boy and get a job and stay at that factory or that workplace until they were 55, 60 and retire. So life looked very different. And I think we need to deep dive into those changes, like what's shifted. The world's very different. We've gone from a majority of single income families where the man was expected to be the protector and provider and the woman was expected to stay home and fix the children and the house. That's changed. I think that the environment in which boys exist is complex because us as older men, maybe wiser, we're still figuring it out too. So we haven't been able to articulate to boys that, hey, you know that unwritten list of rules that we gave you as boys, like what's expected of you, that might not be right, and that might need to evolve and change over time. We haven't had that sort of level of deep and insightful conversation to be like, oh, like, what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a boy? And I don't think there's fixed script on that or a fixed set of items, but there's shared values that we can unite on. I think there's this hesitancy to describe masculinity or the values around it because we know it's evolving and it has to evolve from what it was to what it is now. But boys need guidance. They need something. And I think what we do at the Man Cave taps into that around developing different tools and techniques, you know, the check-ins and being able to have a conversation with a mate that you might not have gotten deep otherwise. There's like some cool stuff in there, but we need a whole bunch of men to come together and be like, we're not perfect, we don't have it right, but we think healthy masculinity looks like this, and let's give it a crack. It doesn't have to be like the Bible where it doesn't get changed. Well, it can be changed and it should evolve,